right. So, yeah, what I'm seeing is you kind of, it's like there's this very much of a mirroring kind of energy happening. Just that, like, and that's at this 1-1, right? I think you're seeing how everyone's kind of coming from the same place, even though we might have completely opposing ideas. Right, the 7-7 too. Right, we're coming from a place, all of us, of confusion, not knowing what's going on, right? There's a snake over here, there's a snake over here, right? There's all these, and snakes can be transformation and stuff. And I do think, this is very much, it's you're coming from a place where the story was still being formed, right? Or we're still kind of in that spot, right? The situation is being transformed. The story is still forming. There's all this illusion, and we're being, distracted by news stories, right? Things coming out, it's all like, these little nuggets coming out to kind of distract us. And, I feel like in this situation, yes, this is you kind of feeling alone, defensive of your ideas, right? Because this is the air element. But I also see you, because this guy looks really thoughtful, right? I see you also seeing that in other people. All right, aware that everyone is very passionate about their stance, right? And it's like they've invested a lot. This 8 of Gardens sitting down here underneath it. They've invested a lot in this viewpoint, right? It's hard to break out of that kind of cycle. I also see, this 7 of Fires cross away from this stranger of tides. And, there's this alchemy that's happening here, right? This experimentation. And we see this sun being formed through this. We see like an embryo here, right? A seed of something that's being formed. And this is, and I feel like, with it touching this story here, I feel like, yeah, there definitely could be something that you're working on. But, I just get this sense of it's more like this way of viewing the world, right? Taking everything that you're hearing, that you're doing, that you're it's like you're really studying it, right? Looking at the rhythms, right? What we see this little circular thing here, right? What happens? Where has this come from, right? Because this is part of this history, right? This braid here, wow. Underneath that is healing. Underneath that is the future. Wow. Okay. So this braid, I'm seeing this braid as just everything being woven together. And I'm really seeing this as, I'm having a hard time getting the words out. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. You're seeing the cycles. How that's played down through the years, right? How certain viewpoints have been passed down and passed down and passed down. And, this is kind of what's been, it's hard to break out of those cycles. It's hard to move past what we've been taught, what we've, lived our lives, right? And, you know, that plays right into this central part of this, right? That we all kind of feel alone and, you know, this, all this stimulus stuff that's happening, you know, it's, you know, it's like we've seen whether the, you know, hopefully that something gets done about that before this, but who knows? But regardless of whether it does or not, we can see how our society has kind of abandoned us, right? Our politics, our government has abandoned us. And of course, not everybody completely sees it that way. I think most of us are seeing it. But I just see you, yeah, Zora Neale Hurston, one of the things, you know, she wrote short stories, but she also collected other stories, right? That's why this is story. Yeah, just and you know, that's why I'm seeing this, you know, the past and how it plays, and you know, and it's important. And I just see you kind of like listening and kind of like feeling into even the dark stuff, right? And seeing how, knowing that justice is coming. There's a sense of justice that's around this, right? These being haunted by the ghosts. Yeah, that these stories that other people are creating are, you know, because I'm just drawn to this factory in the background. And I'm just seeing that as kind of like the oppression of God, politics, you know, just any of it. Commercialism, everything that, you know, the oppressive parts of society. But, you know, it's like, yeah, and even, you know, it's like in the subconscious, you know, right? These houses that, these policies, these foundations that have been built falsely, they're going to crumble. Whereas, you know, it's like everything's is turning, right? The wheel is turning, and those that have been less fortunate are going to rise to power, and the false foundations will crumble. And then, you know, here in the, it's interesting, in both of these we have these little guys here roaming around, and it's like spirit, right? This is like the cosmos. This is divine intervention. I'm saying this is like this comet that's shooting up, right? Bringing like this rainbow energy too, right? And this is moving right along with Maria Callas here. You know, she's a diva. This is like the divine, and she's divine. But I'm seeing, you know, and it's like you know this, right? That's why I feel like, you know, you're, of course, this is what I feel like you're accomplishing it for the most part. But, you know, you're to stay at ease, right? And to kind of like stay lighthearted about the whole business. You know, you feel confident in your place, and your, especially, you know, especially spiritually. Yeah, you're good, I feel. And there's also this sense of manifestation too, right? This solid foundation, and this does say fortune here, right? And breaking out of some cycles. you know, especially right here, you know, touching this Eight of Gardens, which I'm seeing, you know, as being breaking out of cycles. You know, these karmic cycles that we've been in, a lot of them are really getting taken care of this time. And then over here, you know, and this is kind of like the first week I typically see, you know, this is kind of like a moving this way. Then over here, I see, you know, it's interesting we have it going across this way. You know, one of the things that's getting produced here are these little, I don't know what they are, but we see them over here. You know, I'm almost seeing them as like river stones or some kind of, you know, maybe there's some kind of crystal. I don't know what they are, but he's producing them over here. And then this stranger of tides over here is completely made up of them, right? And this is something that you're doing. So I definitely feel like this is you. And we see like the eyes are up here, and you know, this definitely has something to do with water droplets, perhaps, you know, something that's been created. But we also have these more like, you know, these are like those river stones, and I don't know what that is, but at any rate, the eyes are, you know, you're feeling with your emotion, you're seeing with your emotions, you're seeing with your intuition, right? And this is in the fire element. And so it's like with compassion, right? Because you've really paid attention to everything. Like you've just been kind of like taking it all in, listening and forming a story even. Right? This is, you know, because we do have the Queen of Winds here. She can be a storyteller, right? We see these bat wings, of course, and which is making me think of, you know, really listening, because you know, this of course is the Queen of Swords in a traditional deck. A well-adjusted, mature Queen of Winds listens, right? She takes in that information. And of course, she also is connected with her heart as well. There's this lovely balance of action and passivity, right? Of emotion, you know, the heart and the mind. This beautiful balance here. And I feel like, you know, and even advocacy. I feel like you're going to be handling whatever happens this week really well. Your interactions with each other are going to be very balanced. And yes, there will be kind of a sense of detachment, I feel. Right? Because once again, he's not quite all the way here. And she is holding her hands out, right? In kind of a almost defensive posture. But I just see you really being able to very genuinely handle anything, because this is the week of the elections. And then in the future, we have this 9 of Fire. So, yeah, you know, it's like, I don't feel like anything is completely resolved here. And this is the moon in Sagittarius, so that might be, yeah, and that is a solar eclipse. So it's a new moon in Sagittarius solar eclipse. There is kind of like this lovely light that's happening. It's kind of like a rainbowish, right? And even a double rainbow. So I do feel like, you know, this is, yes, there might be a little farther to go, right? We might feel tired. That, you know, we do have this Mars in retrograde that's kind of been really draining us. But that ends sometime. And No, well, I think it goes direct on the 13th, but we'll still be kind of in that shadow. So we have a little farther to go, but I feel like these guys are like, you know, of course, this is like encouragement. Keep going, right? You're a spiritual warrior. You can do it, and there's good stuff ahead. And I think you know this here and here, right? You're attracting, you're manifesting. And even though we might not see that manifestation happening right now, I do feel, you know, there's an ease that's here, right? There's an ease in you. There's all this beautiful energy down below. And, yeah, even this, right? This can be like that visioning, thinking about what you want to transform, because we are still in the midst of this very transformative time. You know, this is a perfect time to be manifesting your desires. And yeah. Okay. Let's get a piece of art, and then we'll get closing guidance, and then we'll take a quick look at the underlying altogether, which will be pretty quick probably, being as I've already really seen a story unfolding there. All right, for Gemini. Okay, to lift. Red poppies. Yeah, and I just, you know, I keep on seeing like this promise, right? And these colors here are mimicking those over here. And this is like this sun, right, that we're creating. I really see, you know, and I see this promise even in this card with that, you know, a sun being created here, you know, and the gears turning. And yeah, when you're in the energy that you're in, Gemini, that we've been in for a while now, you can't help but manifest, right? And once again, that nice, easy energy, connecting with nature. And then we have Georgia O'Keeffe over here. This, you know, and I always see this red kind of like moving over here into, you know, this is like what's within, and then it's moving out and creating. All right, this is the physical manifestation. Because that's the same exact red. These are two different painters. So, you know, they just ended up across the way from each other. And, you know, we see this smoke over here, right? This is your energy coming in to kind of transform society even, which takes a little longer. And that's that, you know, I get that feminism from Georgia O'Keeffe.